I'm honored to be amongst you and have the opportunity to share briefly some of my thoughts on the future of our country's economy. I congratulate you warmly on the 57th year of your existence, testament to the enduring vision of the founders of this body. Again, I congratulate Terry Darko on his re-election as president of the GEA, and the newly elected executives, Mr. Dana Champong, now first vice president, my grandniece, Mrs. Frida Duplan, the CEO of Nestle Ghana Limited, Mrs. Victoria, the party that has insisted all throughout Ghana's checkered history that a developed market economy in which, with the active support of the state, the Ghanaian private sector plays the leading role in the process of social and economic mobilization, is the best context for creating a prosperous Ghana. Today, the greatest challenge confronting our nation is the unprecedented high level of unemployment, particularly amongst the youth. According to the World Bank, about 48% of Ghanaians between the ages of 15 and 24 are unemployed, whilst over 18% of those aged between 25 and 64 years are inactive or unemployed and actively looking for a job. More than 150,000 school students leave school at various levels of education every year for the job market in Ghana. The NPP believes that the only sustainable way of addressing this challenge is by expanding the productive base of the Ghanaian economy and enhancing enterprise growth. To realize this objective, there's the need, first, to build a strong, resilient, and self-reliant economy, and secondly, to introduce specific interventions that will support private sector development. Regrettably, there's been recently a decline in the Ghanaian economy, characterized by slow and stunted growth, high levels of unsustainable debt, high inflation, high interest rates, a weak and unstable currency, and an abnormally high and punitive tax regime. The business environment in Ghana is also constrained by high cost of capital, lack of access to affordable credit, high cost of electricity, and unreliable power supply, cumbersome customs procedures, hostile trade regulations, limited access to land for industrial and service-related activities, multiplicity of taxes, levies, fees, and charges, and excessive bureaucracy in administrating business, and weak logistics and infrastructural support for businesses, amongst others. It is noteworthy that the World Bank Enterprise Survey report of 2014, conducted between 2012 and July 2014, pointed to some of these obstacles confronting the business community in Ghana. The Mahama government has in these last few years, sadly, failed to find solutions to these problems, which have led to the collapse of many businesses. A future MPP government, God willing, will focus on 4 key priorities: building a strong, resilient economy by restoring macroeconomic stability and ensuring fiscal discipline, revitalizing the industrial sector, revitalizing the agricultural sector. These two sectors provide the basis for Ghana to add value to its natural resources and optimize its comparative and competitive advantage in regional and global trade, and implementing an aggressive, targeted infrastructural development program. Some of the specific policy interventions to be introduced in the trade and industry sector are the following, and their intent are to shift the focus of economic policy away from taxation to production by, inter alia, removing import duties on raw materials and machinery for production within the context of the ECOWAS Common External Tariff Protocol, CET, eliminating the special import levy, abolishing the 17.5% VAT on imported medicines not produced in Ghana, abolishing the 17.5% VAT on financial services, abolishing the 17.5% VAT on real estate sales, abolishing the 17.5% VAT on domestic airline tickets, reducing VAT for micro and small enterprises from the current 17.5% to the 3% flat rate VAT introduced by the NPP, reducing corporate income tax rate from 25% to 20%. The process was initiated by the Kufuor administration when it reduced corporate income tax rate from 35% to 25%. It has stood at 25% for the last 8 years. We intend to bring it further down to 20%. Establishing an industrial development fund as an omnibus fund to finance critical industrial support interventions. Recapitalizing and refocusing the operations of the National Investment Bank, NIB, to provide significant financial resources to support industrial development, including retooling and acquisition of new technologies by local industries. Reorienting the focus of the Ghana Investment Promotion Center to attract investments into selected strategic industries, including large-scale anchor industries to serve as growth poles for the Ghanaian economy: petrochemical, iron and steel, cement, integrated aluminum and bauxite, industrial salt, vehicle assembly, manufacturing of machinery, equipment, and machine parts. Reviewing energy tariff policy to reduce the burden on businesses and promoting the supply of energy to support production-related activities. Restructuring the operations of the Ghana Export Promotion Authority to enhance export diversification and take advantage of market opportunities under ECOWAS, Continental African Trade, EPA, AGOA, and South-South trade. And the One District, One Factory policy initiative, reactivating the district industrialization program, under which every district will be supported by government through public-private partnerships to establish at least one major industrial project based on the natural endowment or economic potential of each district. Creating dedicated energy supply sources for industrial enclaves and zones to provide them with quality and reliable power. Facilitating access to dedicated land spaces in every region for the establishment of multi-purpose industrial parks, sector-specific enclaves, and enterprise-free zones. providing a comprehensive program of support for the production of selected agricultural products as raw materials for agro-processing: tomato, cassava, cashew, cocoa, maize, oil palm, cotton, selected fruits, groundnuts, and rice, etc. Providing specific incentives for the production and supply of quality, locally produced, non-agricultural raw materials for industry at competitive prices. Refocusing the operation of public research institutions to provide R&D support for selected strategic industries. Providing specific incentives for the establishment of R&D laboratories by the private sector. Establishing an independent port clearing facilitation agency, excluding customs, as a one-stop institutional mechanism to support import and export trade. Reducing port clearing charges. Supporting the operations of the Exim Bank to facilitate access to financing for export development. Eliminating corruption in the award of public contracts by implementing strictly the teachings of the Public Procurement Act at 663 to ensure that competitive bidding, not sole sourcing, is the norm in the determination of public transactions. Establishing a biannual consultative forum as a structured dialogue mechanism for government and private sector to deliberate on critical issues affecting the private sector. And nominating representatives from business associations to become members of the governing boards of relevant public institutions and agencies to ensure inputs from the private sector in policy formulation. The Ghana Employers Association must be interested in the development of an educated and highly skilled workforce in Ghana. Employers are the frontline beneficiaries of an educated and skilled workforce. Ghana has not done enough in the vocational and technical education sector, and the idea still persists that it is for dropouts and second-rung children. This is the sector that encourages enterprise, growth, and job creation. MPP plans to build a number of model vocational and technical institutions around the country to demonstrate its importance. We're counting on the private sector to join in this critical project. Around the world, food processing has always been the start of industrialization. Too much time is still spent on cooking our foods. There's been a lot of research done by the CSIR and Food Research Institute, and our entrepreneurs and financiers should team up to turn the research into viable enterprises. It will not be difficult to find markets, and if we make our foods easier and faster to cook, they will become attractive to the international community as well. We believe that these measures, comprehensive in scope and ambitious in purpose, will strengthen the prospects of accelerated enterprise development in a competitive environment and stimulate the rapid growth and expansion of the Ghanaian economy, so that the all-important issue of job creation can be successfully addressed. We can then guarantee the peace and stability of our nation. A future MPP government under my leadership, God willing, stands ready to partner the Ghanaian private sector in this exciting journey of economic development and national revival. Thank you for the opportunity.